and I feel like if this continues, you're gonna die. Was the injury scary? No. Not knowing who I was anymore, or trusting that was very scary. No one was coming to save me. No one had a fix, or they would have pulled it out already. If I see that prescription pad come out one more time, I'm gonna scream. The treadmill I'm on is gonna kill me.
Welcome to the Rock Bottom Podcast, presented by Jigsaw Health, where we share health horror stories that inspire. I'm Ashley LaRue.
And I'm Patrick Sullivan Jr. Each episode, we explore raw, unfiltered journeys of survival. Experiences that will inspire, educate, and remind you that no matter how low you feel, there's always a way up.
But before we dive in, just a quick note, this podcast is for informational purposes only, and it isn't a substitute for medical advice. Always consult a healthcare professional before making any changes to your health routine.
Today's guest hit rock bottom in her 40s after suffering a traumatic brain injury that changed everything. What followed was a long and uncertain road to recovery that led to the discovery of the healing power of food.
So let's get into it. This is the Rock Bottom Podcast. Jill, I am so excited to be here with you today. We have been looking forward to this conversation and just can't wait to dive into your story.
Thank you.
Why don't
Me too.
why don't you just dive into where you were in your life? How old were you when you first started noticing your health decline, so to speak?
It was about age 45, 46. And I had a series of flukes, health undermining flukes. I moved down here with my two daughters in 2014 to take a job at a company that was a real step up opportunity for me. It was a big deal. I was very excited about it. And so it was a significant life change moment. And it was one thing after another. And so I got bit by a dog and it got infected, and that needed hand surgery. And that's okay. I'm resilient, dealing with the next thing. The way that my life was rolling at the time, I was doing a lot of travel. I was under a lot of stress. And I just noticed over time, I caught every cold that came around. Mm-hmm. And I was either actively getting sick or actively getting better from getting sick. And it was just, I was spending very little time feeling okay. Then I started to notice things like my heart was racing. Didn't know what that was about. For somebody who had no health history, the only health history I had was delivering two healthy babies. So utterly uninteresting health history, to becoming a frequent flyer at the hospital. And I couldn't attribute it to anything. It didn't clue in that these things might have pattern to them. But, like we tell ourselves, sometimes you got to play hurt. You just got to suck it up and deal. And I was spending most of my life playing hurt, and to the point where I didn't even notice it anymore.
So you're saying that until you moved to Arizona with your girls and took this new job opportunity, you hadn't had any of these so-called accidents and like just random health things that were popping up.
Yeah.
So what do you attribute that to? Was it mostly the travel, the stress of being away from the family, all of the above?
At first I attributed it to the medical system in Arizona. I thought, these people overreact. Why? I don't need to go to the hospital. I'm fine. and I mean, the false things you tell yourself when you're in denial, right? I don't attribute it to climate, Arizona. I don't attribute it to the company I was working for. It's an amazing company. It does great things. It was I moved into a situation with no support system, none, didn't know a soul, and just kind of thought this strategy of pushing through and doing what you got to do would keep serving me. Didn't have any reason to think otherwise, but it caught up. I was constantly fatigued, very, very run down. and prone to catching whatever was going around. So when you're in that continued state of immune fatigue, you're just a sitting duck. And so and it's not just physiological. It's your mental health, your stress, your sleep. All of those things were undermined, and just I could never get a leg up to have a good solid month of normal health. And it just at the time, you don't have the benefit of reflection. At the time, it was just like, catching a cold, whatever.
Again.
Again. And I'll deal, which means I'll act like
Power
it's
through.
not there and power through. And so, add travel to that. You're in a metal tube with a bunch of germs. And the nature of travel is you're grabbing whatever you can find at the airport or on the airplane, or have to go out to dinner, and you lose control of what's going into your body really quickly. Even if and I was somebody who was pretty self-disciplined about looking for healthy choices. The majority of what I was eating was on the go, sucking down a ton of coffee, which is my favorite thing, and I haven't quit. But my body was in a constant state of survival mode.
Yeah, there's one thing about enjoying your coffee or coffees during the day, and there's another using it for survival.
Yeah, I require my coffee. Now I like to sit down and have a cup of coffee with someone, which is a very different dynamic. But this culminated into a few things. Just accidents, tripping, falling. I broke my ribs twice.
Just falling down?
Well, once I was boogie boarding, but that's, it's like I earned that one. But I started to have a troubling series of fainting episodes where I would just hit the ground. And one time, the first time it happened, I went down and I hit my head a little, a little bit of a bang, got a bit of a concussion. And then fast forward about a year later, it happened again. But this time I hit my head very hard and got a traumatic brain injury, TBI, which is a concussion. And it wasn't something I could power through. It was the thing that threw me down and kept me down. I was out on a patio, just turned to my husband and said, I'm not feeling. I went to say, I think we need to leave. I'm not feeling well. And I think I got as far as I think, and just lost consciousness, fell out of my chair, hit the pavement. Ouch. And was out for it felt like forever, but I was out for probably just under a minute before I came to. And so, the ambulance was called and off to the hospital. And that was the big event that undermined my ability to perform, to do anything. Prior to that, I had, through all this illness, I'd contracted valley fever. And I think it was like the year prior. It was just one thing after the other. I got valley fever, ended up in the hospital, double pneumonia, and the doctors were talking about surgically going into my lungs to drain fluid out of them.
For those who don't know, valley fever, could you give them a recap?
Yeah, it's unique to this region. It's
Phoenix area.
In the Phoenix and into eastern Southern California. And it's a fungus that lives in the dirt and in the dust. And if you ingest it, and dogs can get it too, but humans, if you get it into your lungs, it can grow and propagate and show up and actually cause pneumonia. It's because it's a fungus. You don't get rid of it with antibiotics or antiviral anything. It's they actually use an antifungal medication that you're on for a long time, like a good couple months, and it's a slow haul of recovery.
It's about a 50% chance if you live in Phoenix that you're going to have valley fever.
Oh yeah, it's like termites in your house. You're gonna get it.
Yeah,
It's
just a
just
matter of
when and how well equipped is your body to combat it. And mine
Sidebar.
wasn't.
Yeah, sidebar. I had valley fever. This would have been about 2010. And I just had this persistent cough. I didn't have any other symptoms, but I went to my naturopath, and he's like, I think you actually might have valley fever. You can do a test. I think it's a blood test for it. Pretty easy. Very standard for this area because
Yep.
it's so common, valley fever. Came back as, you have valley fever. So he treated me with allicin, which is the active component of garlic, and IV drip. And it was like every other day for a week, and then off for a week, and then every other day for a week. And we got rid of it in like 2 weeks. The irony is,
Yay,
you can't-
naturopaths.
I know, yay, naturopaths. The irony is, the FDA, I don't think, allows allicin garlic IVs anymore. So that treatment is
Because they can't patent it, you think?
maybe something like that.
Is
I
it
don't
not
know.
profitable?
Makes you think.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, my cynicism. Back out. Let me tuck it back in.
No, let
All
it
right.
out. Let it out.
Jill, could you quantify, like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being terrible and 10 being great, during this time period, 2014 to, in the concussion, was that in 2014?
The second concussion was in 2019.
2019. So that 5-year period, 2014 to 2019, quantify for us and for the audience where you felt like you were.
What was
Most
different every
days.
day, ups and downs.
Okay, yeah.
But I would say I was running around a 4, 3 or a 4.
So that was kind of your average.
Yeah, and
And previous to 2014, you would have said you were a
10. I mean, I was fine.
Yeah.
It was just health wasn't on my radar as something to be protective of because I enjoyed good health.
Yeah. And again, your age was, I think you said,
When I
kinda
moved
late
down here, I
40s?
was 45.
Yeah.
And I'm 55 now. So it's been a decade of just really getting to the bottom of how do I equip myself to be not on that treadmill.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was I think up till about 2020 that I was just a revolving door at the hospital.
So when you went to the hospital after that concussion that you talked about, not
Yeah.
the passing out episode in the restaurant, what did they say at the hospital?
You know, their focus at the hospital is making sure you don't die and getting you out of pain. And there wasn't a lot to say about why I was fainting in the first place, which is what I really wanted to understand. That's not normal.
That is
it?
definitely not normal.
Not normal, right? You don't faint, do you?
No.
No. People don't faint unless there's something up. And I honestly have never really gotten a concrete answer as to, got a lot of tests, spent a lot of money, but don't know why that was occurring.
They couldn't see anything that pointed to, oh, this is probably what it is.
It looks like you're pretty run down. The concussion and recovery from concussion has its own battery of tests. The looking into why I was fainting in the first place, the very specific definition is loss of blood pressure. And the questions that would follow from why are you suddenly abruptly dropping blood pressure, there was not a lot of testing. There was, your heart looks fine, your things look fine, you should probably rest. Like, thanks, noted. I would love to.
Yeah, and meanwhile,
love
you're
to.
probably really scared because you're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, and very jarring because, again, you enjoyed good health until you're in your mid 40s and then all of a sudden.
just the wheels came off this thing. I just like, I don't work anymore. And the concussion was the big one, was a very awakening confrontation. Not in the moment, but dealing with recovering from the concussion itself and what's called post-concussive syndrome, which I think is very common, more common than we might know. Trying to get educated on that, understand what other people were experiencing, and finding that we have some of the best medical care options in the Phoenix Valley in the world. And there's even concussion treatment centers here. They did vision tests, balance tests, sympathetic nervous system response, autonomic nervous system response tests, and as well as neurological testing of the brain and IQ testing. All
Did you pass?
not to my expectation, no. But they looked at all of it, and it was, yeah, you're affected, and your options as you're working through something complex like concussion is, it's like there are all these doors you can open up and go down and pursue that as the solution. You need ocular therapy, physical therapy. We're going to do work on balance. We're going to try these medications. Let's try this for your vertigo and that for your migraine. And just the exhaustion of going back into the doctor's office again.
And the stress of it.
And walking out with 5 more appointments that you have to do and 3 more pills that you need to know how to take and remember to take. It just felt like this never-ending cycle of, they're going to put me through more appointments. I'm going to pay more money. I'm going to try to do these things and hope that there's an answer. And when those doors opening wouldn't yield results, now we just, okay, let's open another door and do this for a while. And I didn't have the time or luxury to be a guinea pig. I kind of got disgusted by the whole process, and it forced me to take a hard look at what I really think was going on. And what that led me to was, the concussion was the result of a fall. The fall was a result of fainting, and I believe the fainting was a reflection of just general bad health and exhaustion, and not being in a state of repair. And so I tried really hard to get back on the horse and play hurt, but I wasn't the same person anymore. Concussions are interesting. They're fascinating, but I came out of that a different person, and the symptoms were rough. Couldn't think, couldn't concentrate. It would lose words. If I was to say, look at that cute dog, I would say, look at that cute
Wow.
donut. No, that's not the word.
That must have freaked you out.
Yeah, for a voracious reader, for somebody who had made my living planning and communicating ideas, that was no longer available to me.
How long did that period last of misremembering words?
It's still going on.
Still going on?
No, it's a lot better now.
Yeah.
But it was the first year, I would say, was noticeable.
Yeah.
Forgetfulness. Where'd I put my keys? Why are they in the fridge? Just scattered thinking. And then that came along with emotional regulation things. I'm a nice person, but I would be abruptly aggressive. Like, where'd that come from? I'd chew people out. Where'd that come from? Things that are not native to who I am were showing up in my personality. It was scary.
Yeah. I can imagine.
That was scary.
Yeah.
So was the injury scary? No. Not knowing who I was anymore, trusting that was very scary.
That must have been also scary for your kids and your husband and like people around you in life, just like, oh my gosh, how do we get mom help?
Yeah. Thankfully, I am surrounded with so much love, which was amazing. I mean, and my husband said, I don't need you to have a title. I don't need you to have this salary. I want my wife. I want you to live. And I feel like if this continues, you're going to die. And, that gave me permission to think about our life differently. And so what it came down to was the treadmill I'm on is going to kill me. And I can't be on that treadmill anymore. And that means I got to look hard at what my purpose is and where I draw my identity from.
No easy feat.
No. And I had, 30 to 35 years of education and training telling me I'm a this, and this is what I'm good at, and this is what I do. And which was, by the way, project management in a corporate technology context. That was my wheelhouse. Loved it. Loved being, from the 1980s forward in this growing technology space that was always changing and evolving. And project management is planning and executing. And that was no longer available to me, my livelihood. And I tried. I mean, I didn't just say, well, this has happened, and so I quit.
Yeah.
No, I spent a good couple years coming to accept that I wasn't the same person performing in the same way anymore. And as I was going through that, this kind of rocky recovery, just trying to get back to who I was at work, I was trying to heal my body. And that to me meant all of these prescriptions you've given me, I'm no longer interested in. And folks, don't try this at home. Listen to your doctors. But I didn't. I was like, if I see that prescription pad come out one more time, I'm going to scream. In this kind of multi-year process of I have headaches every day. I have this going on. I have that going on. The answer, I could physically see a doctor grab his prescription pad or pull up the computer to start writing the prescription for whatever. And what it was a symptom addresser more often than not. And I just never felt like we were getting to the why this was happening and how do I get to that root so that this isn't happening. Don't mask what's going on for me. Help me get to the bottom of it. I was a little combative, and part of that was the concussion. But I would say things like, don't trust you, don't believe the whole industry, and you need to know that's kind of where I'm operating. And I've softened that to saying things like, so if prescriptions weren't available to you as the treatment you're recommending, what natural approaches might you offer me? And first of all, it's stunning how untrained they are on nutrition and supplementation. But often, like I've had every medication thrown at me because this will be your answer. And I had a doctor prescribe like Adderall or something for, well, you must have ADHD because you can't focus.
Ugh.
and I'm like, as recreational as that might be, I'm just going to say no to that. And I said, what might you suggest for supplementation? Calcium, magnesium, potassium, zinc, vitamin D, and vitamin K. And how about we start there? Can we start there? And if I need more help, then we can talk about your prescription pad.
Right.
Well, that seems okay. Yeah, sure. Do your little supplement thing. Okay, I'm gonna do. I've been doing my little supplement thing ever since, and it's fine. I don't think I thought about it this clearly at the time, but I approached it first with getting my foundation was my mindset first, which after everything we've been taught in the United States about the medical system, I had to realize no one was coming to save me. No one had a fix, or they would have pulled it out already. And that this was mine to solve. And then I had I almost like a grieving process. I had to quit telling myself, I just want to get back to who I was. I just want to be who I was again. And I had to let her go and say, what I really want is to be the best me now that I can be. And the goal of getting myself well enough to get back on that treadmill is the wrong goal. So getting that mind and a strong amount of faith too, and sure, prayer, but what I mean by faith was, do we really, really trust that our bodies were designed to heal, and that they know what to do, and that they don't need the external influence of all of the wonders of modern medical science to intercede? People have been banging their heads since the dawn of time.
Yes.
And our bodies have this beautiful self-repair mechanism to them. And so for me, that's faith, is thinking of healing and wellness in terms of cutting away and removing all of those barriers that are in front of letting your body do what it knows to do naturally. What could my body do to heal itself if it was unimpeded? Became my rallying cry. And so, well, what does unimpeded mean? Well, it means, first of all, stop polluting it. If toxins are going in your fish tank is going to get dirty.
Yes.
And then the second was, toxins are going to get in despite whatever you do. Get the poison out. Let's just start with getting the poison out. And
to you, tell us some of the things, like, what was the poison for you that you were like, okay, I need to get this out. Step one.
I started it pretty broadly. Just anything processed became suspect to me. Anything with dyes in it, anything with seed oils in it. I was early to the seed oil party. Like, this
You were ahead of the
looks
curve.
like machine lubricant. I don't want that in me. Oh, the big one. I stopped coloring my hair. I was in the hair salon every 2 weeks. My hair was darker than yours. And I just was like, I guess I'm gray, because I'm not going to do that anymore.
Interesting.
And besides saving about $300 a month, which was awesome, I stopped slathering dye on my head.
That's really interesting you say that. Obviously, seed oils and dye have been, a hot topic, but especially food dyes. Just recently, we watched a really cool documentary called To Die For, just came out.
Yes.
Highly recommend. And it's talking about, all of the problems with ingesting dye. And it went through my mind as I'm watching this. I'm like, I wonder what this means for hair dye, because obviously it sinks into your skin. It's getting in your body.
Yeah.
Whether you're eating it or putting it on your skin or your
Yeah.
hair, like I wonder.
Do they really get? I don't dye my hair, but this is, I think, an interesting topic.
Don't brag,
And I do-
Patrick.
yeah, sorry, not bragging.
You're just a natural.
Does it really get to the scalp?
Oh, yeah. They paint it on
Yeah.
your scalp with a brush. It
And
sits
what's right
there for
underneath
20
your
years.
scalp, but your
Yeah,
brain,
your
and all
brain.
that stuff.
Your brain. Yeah.
Did you notice a significant difference after you just stopped dyeing your hair, or is it tough to say because you were doing
Tough
other
to
things?
say. Tough to say. I was on such a mission. I jettisoned any and all cosmetics that weren't like natural or mineral based. Those went out the door. I stopped drinking out of plastic water bottles. And again, not cold turkey. I just started folding in changes. Like, do I need this? Is there a different option? Gutted my pantry.
Yeah.
There's no prepackaged food in my pantry anymore. It's just mason jars of stuff that I've made, and I was on this kick of, I'm still on this kick of eat it the way God made it, and if an apple looks like an apple and it's not coated in wax and a peel and all that other stuff, great, you're good to go. That's how it exists naturally. If it's been processed into Apple Jacks or even a fruit roll up, that now I'm suspect. If you have to put a barcode on it, then don't eat it. So I just started trying to eat things in their original form, that I knew where they were coming from. I also took on at the time a lot of juicing. And the juicing, honestly, I learned a lot. Mixed results. I love the idea of quickly flooding your body with nutrients from fruits and vegetables. That all feels and sounds intuitively right. And I was like, I'm going to drink juice for a month and just get all these toxins out, and I'm going to be 20 pounds thinner. And what I was 20 pounds fatter, and had developed a couple of big kidney stones that sent me back to the hospital, which was exactly where I didn't want to be. And I what did I just do to myself? Whose Kool-Aid am I drinking? So I think there's a place for it, and I think it's a nice natural treat. But if you're not very plugged in to your insulin response and your blood chemistry, how your body is reacting to juice, you can do more harm than good.
What did you put into the juices? What were your favorite things to put in there?
Favorite things?
Yeah, I mean, for the folks listening on home that want to develop kidney stones and put on 20 pounds, what should they be juicing?
Oh, yeah. Lean into the fruits.
Okay. So lots of apples, oranges.
My favorite drink would be apples, cucumbers, kale, and spinach. And human nature over time, you put in a little more apple because it's yummier.
Sure.
Kale and spinach because you get to virtue signal that you ate your kale. I don't know. I
Because
don't know.
they say that's healthy.
We got fed a load of garbage about kale.
Well,
and it's full of oxalates. And
I was just going to say kale and spinach are super high in oxalates, which literally causes crystals to form.
Yep.
And is probably the culprit of your kidney stones.
It was.
And
It
you're
was.
going, I'm literally doing everything I know of to be the healthiest person.
Right.
And I just...
Kale, you've betrayed me.
Yes.
Yes.
Darn you,
and
kale.
Really come around a lot in terms of what I thought the right answers were and what then I learned were not. My first move was to get as plant-based and kale drinking as I could get. And I wasn't nourished. It wasn't doing anything. First I was getting my mindset right, but then I took it, the next step was to think about managing inflammation, because a concussion is in its purest sense inflammation of the brain. And I needed to get that inflammation down. So I, well, I'm vegan now. And I never went fully vegan, but I tried to just go as plant-based as possible, thinking surely that's the right answer, because they said so. And it wasn't doing anything for nervous system repair, inflammation management. And I still felt like I was running on fumes. So I reintroduced high quality protein, and I just changed how I thought about it. What I'm looking for is nutrient density. I want every bite. We don't get that many opportunities to eat throughout the day. I want every forkful to be giving me something that's working.
Very interesting that you got kidney stones. That
Yeah.
happens very often, and a lot of people talk about, oh, well, it's because you didn't get enough water. It's like, no, it's a calcium oxalate buildup
Yep.
inside of the kidneys, and it often happens from people that are juicing.
Yeah.
The other bullet point that I want to add here is something else great that I heard. I'm pretty sure it was on the Joe Rogan podcast, him talking about there's a difference between like drinking apple juice or orange juice, whether you've juiced it or it came in a container, and eating
Right.
that, because when you eat it, you really can't overeat apples or overeat oranges,
Right.
because there's so much fiber that it's basically going to fill your tummy up. But when you juice it all and you're like, yeah, get rid of the pulp, we don't need that.
Yeah.
Drink it all day.
Now, how
You're
much sugar
mainlining.
is there?
You're mainlining sugar.
it. Right.
And the arrogance to think we don't need that fiber. I mean, really, the
Fiber helps with insulin resistance so much,
Yep.
right?
Yep. So, and here I have a store where we make juice, and it has caused us to reflect on how we formulate things, how we talk about it. We don't give medical advice to anybody, but we do meet a lot of people that come in and are looking for a bottle of juice to be the cure-all, and like it's yummy. Let's manage expectations. It's yummy.
Consider
It
it a
is.
treat. Don't live
Consider
on
it a
it.
treat.
So the morning
Yeah.
zing that you make at Good Living
Yeah.
Greens, and
Yeah.
we're going to talk about Good Living Greens here.
Yeah.
I bought some of it. So
It's yummy.
We buy
I
it all the
bought,
time.
I bought some this past weekend and drank some of it on the way home, and it's so delicious.
Yeah.
It's a mixture of orange juice, some ginger
It's
in there.
Orange, apple, and pineapple juice blended together with a good healthy dose of ginger and
Yeah.
turmeric.
Oh, so good.
And
It tastes so good. But you
it-
just have a shot.
Yeah, have a little bit. Don't don't
overdo it.
pound it.
That's right. That's right.
And don't drink it like it's medicine.
Right.
Drink it like it's a treat.
That's right.
And where we started, I was like, I think it's medicine. And it wasn't. And I had to. It's caused us to just subtly change how we talk about it. How much of a part of our business we've made that. And we set out with our business to just to make healthy food options more available in our town. And it was simple as that. Is we wanted people to have access.
And living in your town, we thank you for that.
Yes.
You're welcome.
We are definitely regulars at that.
Yeah, you are. We have a food supply problem. And that's kind of a huge place to start. So maybe I'll back off from that. But when it comes down to our fork and every bite and how many times are you going to eat today? 3, 4,
3.
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably 3.
3 in a snack.
Yeah.
That's not really a lot of opportunities in a day to influence your health. And and you can't eat infinitely. I mean, you get stuffed. So everything on your fork has to matter. And when you growing up where I did, how I did, I was taught to think about food in terms of don't eat too many calories. And to shift my mindset to this isn't about a controlled state of starvation. to maintain my vanity, but it's maximizing every opportunity that I have throughout a very busy day in life to get the right nutrients in me. And don't play. And when you do that mental shift, there's no room for junk. I'm too busy eating things that I need, that are my medicine. Lean meats, or park the lean, meat that is well raised, that is from animals that were grazing on land that had nutrients in the soil.
Yeah.
Though that is all the difference in the world. Drinking milk that hasn't been sterilized through a pasteurization process and still has the living enzymes in it. The eggs I eat are more nutrient dense than the eggs I ate 10 years ago because I didn't care to think about it.
Because you now get them from a local farm.
From local farms where they're raising their chickens in a broad pastured way, where the chickens are getting access to more biodiversity than a chicken that's raised in a cage or in a coop. They're eating bugs.
Yeah, eating bugs and grass and
pecking
whatever they
at
can peck out of the ground.
Manure, because they're following the cows.
Which is what they
which
love.
Is how it's supposed to be.
They love it.
I know that the farmers that we work with don't supplement with grain or soy. And that's not to say they don't put down some sort of chicken feed, but it's not grain and soy. And but the main thing is animals are pretty smart. Let them set up and steward an environment where cows and chickens and bees and pollinators and birds are all interacting together and creating a soil that is nutritious. And when you do that, the meat in the animals is more nutritious, and the vegetables that are growing in the garden are more nutritious. So it's a massive call for us to think about lots of little farms that are stewarding this ecosystem balance rather than large monocrop farms that have been assigned a crop that they're supposed to grow. That is not sustainable. And I don't, well, that system doesn't produce food that actually works in our bodies, because newsflash, we're a part of that ecosystem.
Yeah.
And that is what we're designed to be eating. But around the nutrient density, one of the other things that I clued into is every time I eat something cultured or fermented with it. And what I'm experiencing with that is fermented food getting in there in parallel with whatever else you're eating aids the it's a jump starter to the digestive process, and you end up extracting more nutrients out of your food for every bite. So first,
Really?
get the correct bite in.
Yeah.
Chase it with just a shot of homemade kombucha, or even a sip of wine, or a little bit of cultured yogurt, or some sauerkraut, or anything fermented.
Kimchi
will jumpstart that nutrient process from earlier in your digestive tract.
You do it after rather than before? Or just with?
I don't buy mayonnaise anymore. I can make my own, and when I do make it, I add a little bit of the whey from yogurt, and it makes a cultured mayonnaise. If just every little thing that you eat, you're kind of inspecting it with how can I super boost that?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And the whey from yogurt, that would be the water that kind of...
That part that doesn't look as appetizing as
Yeah.
the creamy yogurt.
The part that most people pour out.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. That is liquid gold.
Do not pour out the liquid on your yogurt.
Keep
That's
that
If you learn nothing else
stuff.
from this episode
Keep
today.
that stuff. You can turn it into other stuff, and it becomes so
Or
good.
just stir it into the yogurt because
stir
it
it
adds
in.
nutritional value.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And it's just a quick and dirty way to ferment anything. My ketchup is fermented.
And it doesn't change the taste?
There's a little tang, but not significant.
If someone didn't tell you, you probably wouldn't. I mean, with ketchup, you probably wouldn't even notice.
It also extends the shelf life.
Oh, brilliant.
These are age-old techniques. Like if our grandmas were sitting here, they'd go, well, yes, honey.
Yeah, of course. Back to basics.
And we're like, this is phenomenal. Who knew?
Why did they stop teaching us these brilliant things?
Yeah.
I know, because we got so used to convenience.
Yeah. Well,
And like just buying what was on the shelf.
and convenience then became the only option. Like,
Right.
like I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
There's no ketchup.
Right.
Do you make your own ketchup?
I do.
How do you make it?
I am just
Welcome to
straight.
the Ketchup Podcast.
So tomatoes that you can imagine the mason jars in my pantry at home.
I'm loving it.
It's awesome. It's so fun. I have all these canned tomatoes and tomato paste in the freezer. So, you start with that. Add your favorite seasonings, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of Worcestershire, a little bit, and I like molasses. Some people do brown sugar and apple cider vinegar, which I make.
Yes.
And doctor it up until it tastes the way I want it. Add a little bit of that whey into it. Let that sit for a while. Let it sit for 24 hours, and that bacteria is blooming and growing. Now store that away, and you've got that would normally last in your fridge, let's say a week, but with the introduction of the culture, you get a good couple months easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lean meat, park the lean.
Yeah.
Why'd you say park the lean?
For my own mental health, and what I mean by that is I spent 45 years of my life worrying, thinking like the Jenny Craig school of quit eating,
Low fat.
and I actually think we're missing valuable nutrients
From fat.
in fat.
There's got to be a reason it tastes so good.
Right. My body loves it. That I know.
Well, yeah,
So-
fat doesn't make you fat. I think that has been pretty well
Yeah.
debunked, especially saturated fat. That whole hypothesis coming from Ansel Keys after
Yeah.
FDR had a heart attack and said, okay, well, it's because he had too many ribeyes.
Right.
Was it?
Was it?
Yeah.
Or was it the
Yeah. So,
the
yeah,
whiskey
the
and
audience,
sugar?
I'm sure, will probably know that, but you can definitely go down that rabbit hole if you want.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
your audience might know that, but
Yeah.
I still think there's a lot of waking up going on.
There is.
We have years of brainwashing that
Yeah.
needs to be fixed, and sugar makes you fat. Sugar overwhelms your insulin system and causes your body to say, "Uncle, I guess
Yeah.
we're just storing all of this."
yes.
Fat delivers essential amino acids that I needed, everyone needs, but I needed for brain cell repair.
Yes.
And so the stakes got very high that I was getting the right amino acids into my body. And I'm not terribly educated on it. I can't tell you what they were, but I knew intuitively I needed steak and eggs.
Yeah.
And just good, and salmon. I couldn't get enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just needed to let go of my old ideas and just eat what my body was saying. Yes, thank you. So typical day, eggs,
Yeah. Eggs. Okay. Yeah. We talked about eggs.
a
Yeah.
little bit of raw cheese in there.
Yogurt.
That's a typical breakfast. I'll have a snack of some yogurt and raw honey, and I'll put some berries on it.
Yeah.
It's just yummy. That's also dessert. Fast forward. We go through a lot of yogurt.
So do we.
Yes, we do.
It's so good. Lunch is whatever we're making at this store because quality control. Got to try. Got to know.
Gotta know.
And then we take home for dinner something from the store and something that we've made, and so it's homemade from scratch, and then we have a little more yogurt and we go to bed. and that is it feels right. It feels right for us. We'll eat bread sometimes, but it's locally baked sourdough and it's organic.
Speaking of feels right, so you had said when you were kind of in the pit, so to speak, like
Yeah.
when you were just at the rock bottom, You
Yeah.
were, functioning at about a 3 or maybe a 4 on a good day. Fast forward to now, like, what would you say your number is on a regular basis? Eating how you are, taking care of your mental health the way that you are.
7 or 8 most days,
That's a great improvement.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, I'm aging. I'm in menopause. There's always going to be. When I liberated myself from trying to get back to 30-year-old Jill and just was like, what is today? Where are we now? Let's optimize for this. Answers came a lot easier in terms of what the right things to do were. Yeah.
Because we're always changing and evolving and
Yeah.
accepting that and looking forward to that and figuring out what's next.
That feels good. Feels like the pod.
Yeah.
That's the
The
sign.
puppies have spoken.
There you go. What a fun conversation, you guys. Thank you so much.